This week, we are celebrating 10 years in business of Focus and Bloom Studios. And I could not be more happy because it's also the same week that we hit the 100th episode milestone of the Focus and Bloom podcast. Both really big milestones. Both have had lots of history from day one, from episode 1 up till today. And what I felt like doing today was to share a little bit of that experience and sort of divide the episode into 3 portions: year 1, year 5, and year 10. And what I'll be doing is I'll be sharing some of the lessons learned and also takeaways from that experience. I'm Yesenia Bocanegra, your video podcast and content creation coach, and this is episode 100 of the Focus and Bloom podcast. I started my business in North Carolina in 2014 after a little bit of over a year of moving from California, and then a year before that moving from Puerto Rico. So starting a business can be nerve-wracking, more so when you are pretty much new in town. My big goal for 2014 when I started my business was to become a well-known fashion photographer. And that was all of that I can think of at the time. So my focus in year 1 was to do the thing, like do as many photo shoots as I could, fill up my calendar as much as I could. If there was a little bit of space available, I wanted that filled up with some work. So my thought was, well, I wanted to see no time for me, just all for the business. I was excited. Granted, I would not do that today, but I was very excited and very much looking forward to making this work. Previously, I had business experience when I started my boutique graphic design agency in Puerto Rico, which I later then shut down and then and proceeded to get a 9-to-5 work and move to California. So I wanted to make sure that whatever I was going to do now was doing it right, doing it well, very intentional, and doing it myself. At the time, I had a partner who was part of the business, so this was just me and just me alone. So that first year was just to do the work, do the thing. And well, I also interned at a photography studio. And when I did that interview, my reasoning for this was I wanted to learn the business. I felt comfortable learning the camera skills, the photography skills, the lighting, all of that, but I needed to know the business. I had only taken 1 business class and I felt like that wasn't enough. So that's what I did. And I started interning with her. And then immediately I started working for the studio and doing some photography, doing video as well, doing video production. And I learned so much. And that's what inspired me, or sort of like really motivated me to formally start my business in North Carolina on July 31st, 2014. So that right there was lesson 1 of year 1. And that is, if you feel called to do something, to follow your purpose, start. Start even before you're ready. I moved to California with just the plan of, well, I want to finish my graduate degree in photography. After that, I don't know what else. So be curious and don't be afraid to start even before you feel that you are ready, quote unquote. And then surround yourself with people that will inspire you, people that will challenge you to grow and challenge you to improve and become better at what you do. And another thing is find the people that will cheer you, that will cheer you on, even if you feel like you're not doing the things that you should be doing, or that the things that should be happening aren't happening. Find that group of people, that community that will cheer for you. And don't be afraid to ask for help. One thing that I really learned during this period of time was that I might have the knowledge or some skill to do a particular task, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to be the person to do that. And that's something that I immediately took to heart. And as much as I possibly could throughout the years, I would always keep that in mind whenever I would do something for my business and then think of the possibility of maybe outsourcing that particular task for the business. I've said it many times. One of the things that I first have outsourced was an accountant. I found a great accountant about a month after I started my business. And that was one of the biggest things that I wanted to achieve right away, because I had already some previous experience with working with other accountants. It was not great. They really didn't value what I did. And they thought because I was so young that I didn't, treat this seriously enough, because I was like, muchachitos. girls. We were like too young to run a business because business was too serious. Well, anyways, the joke's on them. So I hired an accountant, and she, even till this day, she's still working with me. She's my accountant, and she is amazing to work with because she not only knows what she's doing, but really she empowers me to do the things that I'm doing, to learn more about my business, to understand the numbers, understand what I need to do to make sure that I'm doing things right. So to her, thank you so much for being such a key part of my business throughout all of this time. So yes, start before you're ready. Don't feel afraid of asking for help, and already start thinking about ways in which you can outsource some things for your business, even if you can't do it right away, but just be mindful and be open to that. Now let's move on to year 5. And this time by year 5, I was already working a 9 to 5. I had already gotten married. I left my teaching job at the university. I even thought about quitting photography. And this was big. This is around 2015, I think. And obviously not everything happened at the same time, but these are, like very important things that happened throughout this time. And I think that because I had such a supportive partner, fiance then, my now husband, from the very beginning, and I was in love, and I was just recently engaged, and all that, I was open to trying new things. And by this, I mean open to photographing weddings, because before that, I was like, no, I'm very reluctant to photograph weddings. And I think just I was in a different place already emotionally. So I figured, let's do this. And wow, that was a huge impact in my business, because it definitely gave me that opportunity to hit some of those financial goals for my business. With that, within a year, I immediately matched up my 9 to 5 income enough to be able to quit my 9 to 5 and then focus solely on my business. So it was really a very empowering decision to be able to switch from leaving fashion photography, that goal, and then really focusing on weddings. And you know what? I loved it. I honestly loved photographing weddings. The 8 hours did not seem like 8 hours. It went by really fast. I love fluffing the dresses and like getting, like working towards the emotion, like the build up, as the getting ready part, and the actual ceremony, the party, and everything. So it was so great to meet so many couples and just to be able to document such a big day, like a wedding day. So I'm so grateful for the couples that trusted me with photographing that special day for them. And honestly, this was a really big moment in my career, in my photography, because now that I had left my 9 to 5, I decided I wanted to pick up my teaching, let's say content, if you will. When I started the business around 2014, 2015, I also started my YouTube channel. So I started creating tutorials and whatnot, and that was picking up pretty well. So I was excited to do that, but then I had to stop because of that 9 to 5. I just was too busy and I didn't have that energy to create content and show up that way. So now that I had left the 9 to 5, I had more time to work on something that was educational. And I wasn't sure exactly if it was a YouTube channel or something else. And eventually I came across a podcast and I fell in love with it. And December 31st, 2019, Focus and Bloom Studios was born. So now this is like a shift in moving away from photography, from Yesenia Bocanegra photography to Focus and Bloom Studios. I knew it was going to be bigger than what Yesenia Bocanegra photography was. I still didn't know what it was. Even till today, I don't have a full vision of what Focus and Bloom Studios means, but I know it's going to be so big, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited for what's to come. But let me not jump to year 10. So now we know what happened in 2020. My business now went from really doing really well to not so great because of the pandemic. And now I was doing more marketing with other businesses and nonprofits, and I was really falling in love with that. And the constant challenge and the challenge of marketing, because you need to, stay up to date in trends, stay up to date with what works best, and what might work best for this person may not work for this other client. So it's a challenge, because if I'm doing the same thing consistently over and over, I personally get bored. So this actually keeps my job interesting consistently. So I think I said that many times, but anyways, let's keep that. All right. So now I am podcasting. I'm going back with my YouTube channel, creating content. This all leads me to the lessons for this period. And the first one is to keep going and trust your inner voice, but also don't feel that because something might not be working or something isn't working, quote unquote, doesn't mean that it's actually not working. Something is brewing up. You just don't see it yet, or maybe you haven't seen it unfold yet. It hasn't unfolded yet. So be open to trying new things. And if you feel the need to go back to a 9 to 5 or to go to a 9 to 5 because the financials of the business aren't where you want them to be, then don't see that as a failure. See that as an opportunity. See that 9 to 5 as a vehicle that is allowing you to continue to work on your dream business. And as you do that 9 to 5, be open to learning and to applying things that you learn as you do that 9 to 5 that you can apply for your business. Some of the things that I learned during this period was systems and workflows. And while I had an idea because I had worked with that photography studio, but this was another chance for me to really dive deep into systems and workflows. So it's how I've been able to stay organized, work with multiple clients, and have a consistent production workflow. But always, regardless, be open to continuous improvement. So again, see that 9 to 5, if that's where you need to go, see that as an opportunity and as a channel to help grow your business. Now, year 10 is here. And between years 5 and 10, I had 2 big pivots. One was going from wedding photography to brand photography, and from brand photography to video podcasting coach. So these 2 pivots took 3 years. Pivoting takes time, or could take time. It's not just like that. It's not out of the bloom and you've pivoted and you have everything figured out. No, it takes time. For one reason, because I felt that it was time to move away from photography and into something different. Also because I didn't know what that other thing was going to be or look like. So it's also been a time where I've embraced my roots even more. I also started creating more content in Spanish. I created the Focus and Bloom podcast in Espanol, which later converted into the Bloom Creativo podcast. And this might be the 39-year-old woman in me speaking. And sometimes that also might come with age as you approach your 40s, which I'm actually looking forward to, but not right now, just when the time comes. It's been a time where I have said no more often than yes, where I've hit several financial income goals. And no, I haven't gotten to that 100K goal yet. It's a goal, but not there yet. I've also been able, through my business, to create job opportunities for others. And also I've honored my priorities, and I've always strived to even more give to my clients the best customer experience possible. So some of the lessons of this time was 1, know your purpose and trust your inner voice. Recognize that saying no is okay. And also that being busy doesn't mean being productive, nor moving that needle forward. And also staying open to trying new things. So certainly 10 years, it's a big milestone. Lots can happen. Lots has happened. And I'm excited for 10 more years and whatever years come with Focus and Bloom Studios in however that evolves. What are my next 10-year plans? I don't know. What are my next 5-year plans? I don't know either, honestly. So the thing that I do know is I want to make sure that I want to continue doing things that I love and I feel joy and passion to do. And that I'm also ready to be more visible and to dream big, really, really big. So my invitation to you is to also dream really, really big. So today, as we're celebrating 10 years in business and Focus and Bloom Studios and 100 episodes of the Focus and Bloom podcast, I just want to say a big thank you to everybody who's been a part of this journey, my family, my friends, my husband, my clients, and everybody who's done a like, share, subscribe, or been a client, a photography client, a podcast client, anything. Thank you so much for making this big dream possible. Something that I started in day 1, I would never imagine reaching 10 years. So it's a huge milestone, and I invite you to dream and dream so big. Dream big and have fun while you're doing it. And thank you so much. So cheers to the next 10 or more years. While we're wrapping up the Focus and Bloom podcast series, stay tuned to our YouTube channel at Focus and Bloom for more tutorials to help you with your video podcast and content creation journey.